Hi, welcome back to Joni's Sweet Spot. Today we're going to be making coffee cake. To start off, we're going to be making the cinnamon sugar layer. We're going to be adding in 1 cup of finely packed light brown sugar and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And now we're just going to kind of mix it together until it combines. Okay, now that it's stirred, we're just going to set this aside and we're going to move on to our cake layer. We're going to add in 1 stick of butter, and I am just going to be using a box cake mix for this. And I'm going to mix that until combined. Well, until smooth. Okay, now that it's smooth, I'm just going to scrape down the bowl. And I'm going to be adding in 2/4 of milk. The cake mix. And 2 large eggs. And also a good tip, if you get an eggshell in there, you can actually use the big eggshell before you throw it away. It's easier to get the little shell out. Okay? While that's mixing, I'm just going to wash my hands because I do not want to cross-contaminate from the eggs. Okay, now that it's mixed, we're going to prepare our pans. I've already cut out 2 parchment squares, and I'm just going to flip one of the pans over, and with just one of the parchment, you're going to fold it into a square, and with the tip, try to get it as close to the middle of the pan as possible, and then just trace the pan with the scissors. And then once you do that, you can flip the pan back over and test it in it and see if it's the right size. And it is, so now we're going to do the exact same to the next pan. Now that we've done our pans, or cut out our parchment paper, we're going to get a little bit of vegetable oil. And you can use just like spray, but I'm just going to use a little bit of vegetable oil and just put a little bit in the bottom of the pan. And now I'm just going to kind of spread it around the pan. And this is just so the parchment paper sticks to the bottom of the pan. Okay, now we're going to put our parchment paper in. Okay, and with our batter, we're just going to put maybe 2 or 3 scoops because you don't want like too much, because we're going to have to do another layer of this. So I'm going to start with 2 and see how far I can spread it. So you just want a nice thin layer on the bottom. Okay, now that I have it mostly spread out, I'm just going to get our cinnamon and sugar layer and kind of put a little bit between it. we're gonna put another layer. And I had to use 2.5 scoops for the first layer. Okay, and now we're just going to spread that out. Okay, now that I've done it to both sides, I finished it off, and it's not the prettiest and it won't turn out as good because you really have to move it, and it might help if you have like a second person to kind of help stretch it because I know it is kind of stretchy. And I have some left over of that, so we're going to save the cinnamon and sugar for the topping. So we're going to put this in, and I already preheated the oven to 350. We're going to put this in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, now that it's been 25 minutes, I went ahead and took them out of the oven, and I'm just going to let them cool for about 10 to 15 minutes or until you can touch them and they're cooled off. We'll come back and reassemble. Okay, now that I've already flipped out our first layer, and it's definitely a lot thinner, but I use non-gluten. I use like a gluten-free, and if you use like just a regular cake mix, it will get it more like thicker, and it will rise definitely a lot more. And you can also use up to 3 layers if you want to. So we're just gonna go ahead and fill the first layer with our cream cheese that we used from our last video. And feel free to use however much that you want to. Okay, now that I got the layer pretty even, I'm going to be adding our cinnamon sugar from earlier. And if you don't want to add this, you don't have to the middle. It's really just like a preference. Okay, and now we're going to flip out our next layer. Okay, and now we're just gonna frost the entire thing. Okay, now that I've completely frosted it, I'm gonna pop it in the freezer for maybe 10 or 15 minutes until it's nice and solid to the touch. Okay, now that our cake has been in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, I'm just going to, I put a little bit of our frosting in a bag, and with a tip, you can use any tip of your choice, and I'm just going to kind of rim the cake with it. we've done that, I'm just going to get some of our cinnamon and sugar and just do that right in the middle. And if you don't want to put too much on top, you don't have to. Now, if your cake is too solid, this will not stick to the top. So you might just have to push it down a little bit if it is. Okay, I think that's good. And there you have it, a coffee cake. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment.